Welcome to the Migraine Miracle Moment. I'm your host, Dr. Josh Turknet. I'm a neurologist, migraine specialist, migraine sufferer, and author of the book, The Migraine Miracle. In this podcast, you'll learn all about how to find your path to migraine freedom without pills. Let's get started. Hey folks, welcome to another episode of The Miracle Moment. So this episode is a short excerpt from a recent clinic chat live session where I answered a couple keto-related questions. One was about how keto for migraine differs from what I refer to as popular keto or pop keto, which is the version of the ketogenic diet that tends to get promoted on the interwebs. And then another question regarding what to do if you are struggling to get into ketosis. So for years, we've been doing our regular clinic chat Q&As and group coaching sessions with our Migrai-Neverland members. But a few months ago, we switched to doing these live with video on Zoom, which is something I think we're all enjoying. This was another one of those silver linings that emerged from the pandemic. So the improvements in technology that's come about for live conferencing and the fact that most everyone is now familiar with it lowered the technological barriers for us to do this sort of thing. And I also think that this experience has made more and more of us look for ways to connect with others during this time where we felt more cut off than usual, as well as recognizing just how important the communities and the people in our lives are. So we really enjoy the opportunity to connect with our members in this way. And as I said, this episode is a short clip from one of those sessions, those live sessions with our members. And if you want to be part of these sessions, we'd love to have you. You can head to mymigrainemiracle.com/join to get started. Joining also includes access to all the recordings of our prior sessions, which also include some recent presentations that I've done as part of our 30-day challenges, including recent ones on the key nutrients for migraine protection, as well as 5 keys to breaking rebound headaches. All right, and now, without further delay, here are the excerpts from our recent Clinic Chat Live. So I got a few questions here that came in over the past week or so. A lot of them are keto related. There always seems to be a theme to these, but I think there definitely will be a theme from these questions, and we can reinforce some good topics. So the first one came from Janie, who said, when you refer to some ketogenic diets being more problematic than helpful, is this due to fat bombs, carb replacement foods, keto bread, etc., processed foods, and nut milks? I see these in keto recipe books and shops, but not in the Migraine Miracle Plan. Have I learned correctly the wrong keto foods to avoid? And so I think for the most part, yes, she hit the nail on the head in terms of the specifics of the sorts of things that, the sorts of foods that you might see commonly advertised or promoted with, popular keto plans, but ones that we would not advocate for. And I think the biggest difference between the pop keto, that's what I started calling it. I don't know what a good name for it, but the keto version that kind of it's become heavily commercialized. And keto for migraine is that the popular keto kind of is get to ketosis by any means necessary. And where all that really matters is getting the ketones to read out, and how you get there is not really relevant. So there's really very little to no concern about diet quality, which is not just an issue for, someone who's using it for migraines, but really for anyone, who's using it for health in general. But unfortunately, it's become, ketones by any means. And with keto for migraine, how we get there is very important because context is everything. So it's not just about the ketones. And I talk about this a good bit in the book, how when we are getting into ketosis, so many things are changing. partly, how much is in part a function of what kind of dietary pattern we're coming from. But certainly lots of things are going to be changing, and we want to make sure that we're steering all those changes in the right direction. So you could conceivably do nothing but fast and chug MCT oil and get yourself into deep ketosis, but you'd end up horribly malnourished and probably with a raging migraine. So, it's how you get there is crucially important, and it's likely that many of the benefits of a ketogenic diet for migraine are coming from things besides just the ketones. And it's likely that the ketones are part of the story. There's some evidence for that, but we still don't even know that for certain. We just know that this whole pattern looks to be helpful. So in terms of how you get there, which is alluded to in the question, the most important thing is to do so by eating real whole foods, and by doing so, consuming nutrients in the forms and the ratios that are found in nature. And it seems to be that whenever we deviate from that, we get sick. And that makes sense, because that's what all of these mechanisms in our body were optimized for. So whether that's taking things in isolated forms and supplements, or from frankenfoods or added sugars or added fats, anything that kind of deviates from the ratios and the way things are found in nature seems to be problematic. And we're still figuring out, the mechanisms behind all that. But that general principle is a pretty solid one to adhere to. So really the staples should be whole foods. And in my view, if you can get into ketosis using whole foods, using real foods, that's the goal. And if you can't, then that's okay. And it's not something that, if getting into ketosis would mean having to, eat a bunch of isolated purified fats or something like that, probably not going to be worth it. And it's important to remember that, the longer you do the Migraine Miracle Plan, the more changes that are happening that are making you more likely to get into ketosis with the same set of foods. So it's very well possible that the exact same diet now that wouldn't get you into ketosis 6 months later will. So there's always that possibility as well. But this is also why I try to discourage people from focusing too much on, the ketones and whether they're in ketosis or not, since that's only a small slice of what's important. And why I also talk about trying to get away from silver bullet thinking, where, it's not about any one single thing, including ketones, but rather, about the entire, and understanding the impact of the entire system, which may include the ketones, but also all the other stuff that we're doing. So the things that she mentioned there, fat bombs, carb replacement foods, keto breads, all that stuff, nut milk, most of these things are wouldn't fall under the umbrella of real whole foods with ratios of nutrients that are found in nature. And we know that it's possible to get into ketosis by just doing that. This was a question from Corinna, and it actually relates to the first one I answered. So she asked, in terms of, she's not here, is she? In terms of being careful of not feeding the beast with excess energy, is there a way to balance this? I found to get into keto a few months ago, I had to eat more oils and dairy and even grease. When I stopped doing that the last month, I fell out of keto. I would like to get back into it, but not sure I can without adding more of the heavier energy foods. So hope maybe after the first question, you might know what I'm going to say here. So this would be a perfect scenario of why I try to get folks to think about the whole picture rather than just focusing on the ketones. So this is a scenario where someone is needing, in order to get into ketosis, needing to add in purified fats or something along those lines in order to get the ketones to show. the first thing would be to, if you're not doing this already, you still trying to do so with whole foods, but just adding fattier cuts of meat and that sort of thing. So, that would be step one. But if you go to that step and still aren't showing ketones, that would be at a point where I'd say, okay, fine to just continue as you are, and give this time and not do things that would, undermine the benefits that we're trying to get to begin with. Because again, it's not just about the ketones; it's about everything that we're doing. And like I said before, if you are, if you were to continue, on the program, eating low carb, whole foods, nutrient dense diet for an extended period of time, you're going to be stimulating metabolic changes that are going to make it increasingly likely that this same exact set of foods will promote ketosis in the future that aren't right now. So again, it's just an important concept to remember that we're always changing, and the longer you adhere to this kind of program of eating, the more fat adapted you become, the less it takes for you to generate ketosis. So whereas a whole foods diet may not do it initially, it can later on. And that's one of the big differences between this and the popular keto would be, there it's try whatever it takes to get into ketosis is the goal.
All right, thanks again for listening to the Migraine Miracle Moment. If you want to join us in future Clinic Chat live sessions, as well as get access to the entire archive of prior ones, just head over to mymigrainemiracle.com and click on the Resources tab. That's all for this episode, so now it's time to go out and slay the beast.